Hey, sales professionals out there. I know you know that opposites attract, but are you aware they also convert?
Now think about this. Bad news is actually good news sometimes.
What?
Yes, it builds rapport. When we as sales professionals actually convey honest information to our prospects, they can trust us. And when they can trust us, they can potentially buy from us.
Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of RevShow. I'm Rob.
And I'm Ruben.
And today it's all about the opposite sales technique. That's right, the opposite. Instead of up, it's down. Instead of left, it's right. Instead of right, it's wrong. The absolute opposite. Are we on the same page? Opposite? Opposite?
No, we're not.
Oh, you're right. See what he did there? Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is negatives are positives. What? Yes, negatives are positive.
Well, think about this for a second. If you're trying to buy something from someone and all that they're doing is telling you positive information, telling you what you want to hear, chances are you're not going to trust them as much. You're going to say, what are you holding back? What are you hiding? This sounds too good to be true. It's so imperative that we actually give the full picture of information to tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because that ugly part, that's actually where we can build rapport. Maybe there's an upgraded version of what they're selling. Maybe there's a different product. Maybe there's a different strategy that needs to be pursued to accomplish the goal.
Because remember, the clarity of honesty is more important than the rose-colored glasses of what you're trying to tell them.
If we actually lean into what the risks are, what the possible negative...
Leaning into the risk.
That's right. Just like that. If you think about that, you can actually create a success plan based on that. And this is called contingency planning. Imagine if a salesperson told you, listen, I'm making a plan to see you succeed. But if it doesn't succeed, I have a backup plan. You might say to yourself, how are you not sure with what you're selling? And the response might be, well, listen, not everything goes as planned. Sometimes we need to make a backup plan and even a backup plan to that. The second that we start to bring this type of information in the discourse between buyers and sellers, that is where trust can take place. Because after all, Murphy was right. If it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong. Let's plan for that.
What we're talking about here is Murphy's Law.
But how we will add to it is the Murphy Sales Law, which is A, to make a backup plan for your plan. But B is to actually disclose what you're doing to your client, to let them know that things don't always go as planned, but you've thought about that. Why?
That brings rapport that will also bring results. All right, so now we're going to be talking about walking into the fire. Now remember, this is all about the opposite technique. So when we see a fire, obviously we don't want to walk into it, we want to put it out. But in the sales case, when we're talking about the opposite technique, what we mean by walking into the fire, translation is walk into your fears. The reason we want you to walk into your fears as a sales professional is because it's going to teach you to evolve as a salesperson. You start over here in your life in sales and you learn and you evolve, but you only learn and evolve if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Because when you're uncomfortable and you're fearful, you will have that thing inside of you where you A, need to survive, and B, you need to thrive to keep either your job or keep your company going. So leaning into your fears, you will grow as a sales professional. And leaning into them, a lot of the times in the sales world, is the exact opposite of what other sales professionals will be doing to their detriment, unfortunately.
Objections. Think about this. Most of us in sales ignore the objections. We don't want to hear them. What we want to hear is why that prospect is going to sign the contract, why they're going to actually work with us. Now, objections are some of the most important pieces of information during the sales process because it tells why people have a concern, why they potentially will not do business with us. If we actually lean into the objections, now if we do the opposite of what our mind is telling us and to actually lean into the objections, to outwardly say, do you have any objections at this point? Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? By leaning into what the objections are, we can actually create a smarter plan. We can also show that we're focused on listening. We're not focused on what we're feeling, we're focused on what they're feeling. And by doing so, again, we can build that rapport. The next time you're hesitating to ask what the objections are of your prospect, change your mind and do the opposite. Ask them, do you have any objections at this point? Because I'd love to address them. And by doing so, you'll build that trust. Change your mind and it changes your results.
So next we're going to talk about honesty, but not just regular honesty. We're talking about radical honesty. What is radical honesty? It is the absolute maximum level of you being transparent. Transparency equals trust. I'll say that again. Transparency equals trust. So in sales, to make that true connection with the prospect or client, you've got to lay it all out on the table. What are you selling? What is your service? How will it affect them? Where is the value? Do you share the look on that mountaintop that they have? Can you take them where they want to go? But also, can you be honest about what you can do for them in their journey? If you can't give them a ride to the top of the mountain, don't say you can. Say, you know what? I can't get you there, but I have an idea of someone that might be able to help you. Let me help them help you. See, that kind of honesty tells them exactly where you stand, and where you're standing is for them.
Before and after stories. Everyone loves a good one. Now in sales and marketing, these are some of the best stories that we can build and ultimately share. In the beginning of the sales process, there's always some sort of conflict, some sort of cause, concern, objection as to why a relationship might not take place. It's so critically important to lean into the fact that your goal is to build a before and after story. This is the story where you overcome objections, where you create that success arc, where you go from the beginning point to the end point, and there's resolve, there's resolution, there's success and results. And one of the most powerful things about this is that not only do you build rapport with your existing clients, where you can actually laugh about the fact that the beginning of the relationship was rocky, but also you can take that story and share it with other prospects. And this is where case studies, testimonials, and video success stories come into play. And when you can capture those honest stories of before and after stories, everyone gets inspired. And what does that mean? More business for you.
All right, so this next part is called the honesty mirror. In the morning, when you're looking in the mirror before you brush your teeth, comb your hair, whatever you're doing, looking in the mirror, checking out your face, whatever you're doing. When we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, aren't we being our most honest about everything? Oh man, I forgot to shave, or I got a little pimple here or something, or oh man, my complexion's off today. I look tired, I look great, whatever it is. When you look in that mirror, you're having some of your most honest thoughts. So think about the honesty mirror in sales. When you're communicating with your client, whether it's in person, through video, whatever it is, make sure that you are being your most honest self, because you're not only treating yourself with respect, you're treating your prospect or client with respect as well. And when you can hit that honesty button to its utmost power, you hit it and you're honest and you tell them exactly what it is. Like Ruben said before, maybe you lead with bad news. And when I say bad news, I mean the reality of news. Because when you're honest about what the situation is and how you can solve their problems or challenges, they're going to respect you more and they'll do business with you. So in the morning, when you're looking in that mirror, think about how honest you're being. Take that honest feeling, remember the honest mirror, and apply it when you're making your sales calls or when you're making your sales videos.
Now, one of the things that we talk about here at Dubb is differentiating. It's actually zigging when others zag. It's breaking through the noise. What we'd like to present to you now is this idea, taking the path less traveled. That's right. This is a combination of the path of least resistance and the road less traveled. It's called being different. Everyone in sales right now is telling their clients and their prospects what they want to hear. What we're presenting is to do the opposite, to lean into the fact that life is not always rosy. What we're presenting is to do the honesty, is to do the opposite. It's to present the whole picture, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And by being honest, you build that rapport. And as I said before, and as we all know, the better the rapport, the more open the door. So here are 3 reasons why you want to employ the opposite sales technique. Number 1, it's because you will convert more. Number 2 is because you will have more fun by making real relationships. And number 3 is that you'll feel better about yourself.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the after. What is the after? Well, we talk about before, we talk about afters. This is very important because if you don't recognize the before, what will the after be? A lot of times in sales, people look at it like they want to close a deal. We here at Dubb really evangelize. It's not closing a deal, it's opening a relationship. If you're going to use the opposite sales technique and be radically honest with your client or prospect, what does that do? It builds trust, and it gives you the ability to not only lay your cards on the table, but it gives you the ability and the power and the connection to start a relationship. The after is all about how do I feel as the sales representative when the deal is done, and how does the client feel when the deal is done as well, because the deal may be done, but the relationship is just beginning. So the after is monumentally important, and you can only get to the after when you are totally honest about the before, and then you'll see the difference in the growth and the evolution into the after. So here's a really important point to remember. Relationships are all about honesty, radical honesty, which we've established. If you do not establish that radical honesty in your sales technique and in your sales pipeline and in your sales profession in general, so if you're not radically honest with your prospect or client, they're going to get this icky feeling. And if there's ick, there's no stick. And what I mean by that is, if they're feeling icky, there's no stickiness to the deal and relationship moving forward. And every good sales conversion is sticky. And if you weren't radically honest with your client or prospect, and they're starting to get that icky feeling in terms of you weren't being transparent with them, maybe you're holding back some information, maybe you didn't tell them something that they later found out about online, because there's information everywhere, that's why it's important to be honest and transparent, they'll get that icky feeling and say, you know what, this isn't for me, and you'd lose the sale. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. We put a lot of work into this. We want to get the information out to everybody. If you liked it, throw a like on there. Put a comment below. What else, Ruben?
So remember, next time you're developing your sales technique, do the opposite. It might behoove you and your clients.
Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. And remember, even though this is the opposite technique of selling, we don't want you not to subscribe.
Subscribe to our channel. See you at the next video.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was not ready.